Good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to our webinar on Breach and Attack Simulation Services, aka BAS. We have a 1-hour session scheduled today. Questions will be answered at the very end in the last 15 minutes through the Q&A box that you have on the left. And there are polls at the end as well, so stick around. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to our CEO and Mr. Presenter, Mr. Ashwin.
So thank you everybody for joining. And today we have an interesting topic. As Madhuja said, it's a breach and attack simulation. And let us jump straight into the session. Let me know if you can see the PowerPoint. Madhuja, just let me know because I made it at full screen. And if it is fine, yeah, okay, good, thank you. So as we said, it's a breach and attack simulation and its importance. Why are we doing this? Quickly, the agenda for today is we are going to discuss who are we and the challenges of securing your digital fortress and your crown jewels, increasing cybercrime, introduction to what is breach and attack simulation, and key features of what we offer and how do we do that, and why you need a third-party MSSP provider rather than doing it yourself. And then we'll take some questions at the last. We'll try to keep it brief and so that we have time for questions. So about us, we are an audit firm. We are a US CPA firm. We are fully into cybersecurity, listed with Cloud Security Alliance as one of the few, only 20 odd auditors for the STAR assessments. Listed with PCOAB, which is the US SEC body for listed entities. We also an ISO IC accredited certification body for providing ISO certificates in the field of cybersecurity. Then in India, we also listed with the Government of India, which is certain for doing assessments based on the Government of India mandates such as Reserve Bank, SEBI, etc. 20 years experience in the cybersecurity domain. That's me and our company. We have 500 plus global clients. We have 99% repeat clients. More than 5,000 audits completed. One of the few entities worldwide which can do SOC 2 and ISO, VAPT, etc., all under one brand. So some of the services that we do is SOC test reports, privacy assessments, ISC certifications, vulnerability assessments, pen tests, federal assessments, US for CMMC, NIST, and FedRAMP, etc. And as we said, cloud security assessments, we are one of the few STAR auditors, both for our SOC 2 base and ISO base. And now we do a lot of technical assessments, breach and attack simulations, and we also provide a managed CSOC services, which is 24/7. About me, I've been in the industry for more than 20 years. Did my work in the compliance area as well as technical assessments. You can reach me on my LinkedIn link provided here. If you can search it out, also you should find me. And I think many of you may know me also because I've been a speaker in so many forums worldwide. So let's come to the topic, which is challenges of securing your crown jewels. So today we have several issues in securing our crown jewels and our digital fortresses. First one is the continuous evolving threat landscape. The threat landscapes keep changing. We had LAN environments and WAN environments. Now we have cloud, we have integrated IT/OT integrations, we have IoT devices, we have home devices, we have new technologies coming, artificial intelligence and new technologies coming every day, and hence the threat landscape is continuously changing because the connectivity points are increasing, and that's the major reason for the challenge. Second is the cybersecurity industry is facing an acute shortage of manpower today. We don't have sufficient manpower to fill in the needs of most of the organizations, and that's a major challenge today. And another reason of so many breaches is that. And because there's a skill force shortage, many organizations are not able to do continuous security validation, and hence they keep doors open for for others, the bad elements to get in. Next point is improper CSOC validation. Many organizations do have a CSOC, but how effective that CSOC is, how do we know? So the breach and attack simulation services do validate your CSOCs. That's an important aspect of this service. Many of the environments are not mapped with the MITRE framework. They do not have a proper incident management definition. They do not have a proper process to manage their security incidents in line with the MITRE framework, which is the industry best practices. Business disruption and downtime. So major challenges, applications are down, systems are down, and that is the reason that we need to have a breach and attack simulation, because we cannot afford to have a downtime for our applications, for our services, etc. So the first point we said is ever evolving threat landscape, and some of the aspects that covers here are rapidly changing tactics, because the IT is a dynamic environment. The bad actors are changing the tactics every day. There are new attack vectors, right? There have been, and then now we are looking at zero-day vulnerabilities, also another challenge. So we have significant zero-day vulnerabilities. There are no patches to that, and the bad elements are exploiting those to get into your environment. Social engineering, sophisticated social engineering have many facets to it, right? And they're using several techniques to get into your system: phishing, emails, many other tactics which you tend to give away your credentials to the bad elements, and they get into your system to steal your data, to down your applications, to down your services, deface your websites, and many such things. The endpoints are getting worldwide connectivity. People are working from home, and the endpoint security challenges is posing threats to the landscape at all. Second point we discussed was shortage of skilled workforce. So as we said, there's a talent shortage. The number of resources are limited. Training many times is ineffective, but you also need on-job training and use of the skills in a live environment to get yourself upskilled, right? And because there's a people shortage, there is a retention challenges in the industry. People are moving, people are jumping jumping companies, and that's a challenge that we need to face today. Silos. So cross-functional collaboration, many of the entities do have silos work. One department does not seamlessly interface with others, and which creates a challenge of, watertight compartments that companies work in. Third challenge is continuous security validation. And these are the aspects of that. Periodic testing gaps. We do not have continuous VAPTs for our environment. Many entities do it once a year, do it even less than that. Many applications are pushed to production, right, without doing a proper security validation, without doing a VAPT, without doing any of those security best practices. Adapting new technologies is important. People are moving to AI, but we have also seen issues with ChatGPT. We have also seen so many issues coming out with technologies. We try to adapt technologies without looking at security aspects of those, right? But just jumping into new technologies without looking at security best practices is also a major aspect that we should take care of. Dynamic environment, we said the whole IT is changing, fast changing. We need to adapt to the latest technologies and use secure practices to use that environment. CIS benchmarks, right? We have new CIS benchmarks, but many organizations are still not using CIS benchmarks to baseline their securities for those IT environments. realistic threat simulations, we need to do continuous testing, red teaming, breach and attack simulation to look at what are the real threats from ransomware, from others which steal your data or down your applications, have availability issues with that. Next major challenge we discussed is unable to map with metric framework. Many organizations lack the basic understanding of what the framework is, how to align that framework with the entire incident management response plan, how to have a detailed process for prevention, detection, and responding to incidents. The complete comprehensive threat modeling is missing in many environments. They do not have a definition of what is an incident in some places. And because there's no definition, the whole cycle is not correctly managed in terms of people, process, and technology. There are scalability challenges. These SIMs have scalability issues in terms of processing the number of log data, processing the events, and alerting them and as part of event or incident, as the case may be. And of course, we need to continuously improve our SIMs and the SOCs and the alignment with metric framework based on the new technologies and the new attack scenarios that we face today. The fifth point we discussed was the improper CSOC validation, right? So, because in the earlier slide we looked at there's a lack of framework understanding, there's a lack of understanding as to how an incident response actually happens. What are the factors that define that? What are you looking at? What are your procedures? What is your incident? What is an event? What technologies are you going to use? And is that aligned to your risk management or not? So that is a challenge itself that we do have. We say we have a CSOC, but whether that CSOC is effective, we don't know. Whether the incidents have been properly defined. If they are defined, have we tested whether the CSOC is actually working in its intended scaling capacity, as well as the kind of incidents that we need to respond on, right? And then there are communication challenges, right? The CSOC teams or the security teams have to communicate with the IT team, with the PR team, with all other stakeholders, that in case of an incident, what actually happens, right? Some cases there's a limited visibility from the CSOC itself. The monitoring is done at one level, right? The visibility, and because of the lack of even the skill gap, people do not know what to do, when to do. Even if an incident is detected, we don't know how to scale it up, how to do an incident response, how to try and prevent it, what are the effective measures that we need to adapt to take care of that incident. Then adaptability and emerging threats, right? And because of the emerging threats, how do we upgrade our CSOC? How do we upskill ourselves? How do you use the latest AI technologies to detect or prevent an incident is also a challenge. So business disruption and downtime has these aspects. Operational impact during assessments. So when we do a security assessments, we make sure that the applications or the network in the environment which is being tested, there are no impacts on operations. That's what we need to look at. We have unplanned outages. Unplanned outages will affect your availability issues with your customers, your SLAs which have been agreed to with your clients, and other aspects of the outages. Recovery time also needs to be tested as part of your business continuity and disaster recovery plans. And it is a challenge that some organizations do not have a process where the RTOs and RPOs are clearly tested and defined as per, or validated rather, as per their DR strategy and plans. So visibility challenges because of the several factors that we have seen so far. There is no single pane of dashboard available for stakeholders to look at their security challenges in terms of validating their entire security environment. So these are some of the challenges that we have to look at in our day-to-day operations in terms of cybersecurity response. Now, these challenges are operational challenges that we just discussed. The another challenge is increasing cybercrime. In today's industry, day by day, we're seeing that cybercrimes are increasing, compliance mandates are increasing, data breaches are increasing, privacy mandates have come up a lot in the last few years. And we're also seeing a continuous trend of increasing cybercrime market in terms of the expected size, which is now about almost $24 trillion by 2027. We'll see the chart in the growth of cybercrime in the next chart, next slide. 80% of all data breaches have PII and personal data. 71% of all breaches are financially motivated. They want your SSN numbers, they want your passport details, they want your healthcare information, which is bought and sold in the black market or in the dark web that you see. 8 trillion was lost in the reported data breaches in the year 2023, some of the statistics that we have. Now, this is the chart we just discussed. In the year 2018, from $0.8 trillion to growing up to $23.8 trillion is the size of cybercrime market and the value of the dark web data, which is bought and being sold in the dark web. That's how the importance of this industry. That's why the importance of breach and attack simulation. We don't want to give data to those actors who want to steal your data, who want to have ransomware attacks in your environment, who want to blackmail you, who want to steal data, whom they will lure you to give away your data, sell them into black market, or do a ransomware attack and ask for cryptocurrencies from you, all in terms of amount so that they can make money. This is where it is going today, and this is where we all security professionals need to have a conscious decision to stop this activity. The prevention cost is much lesser than the data breach cost. So you'll spend much less in preventing such databases attacks and the ransomware attacks rather than going after incident response and vision and the actual breach. So what exactly is breach and attack simulation, and what exactly is that we do in this space? So it is a continuous validation methodology that simulates real-world attack scenarios to test the effectiveness of an organization's security controls. So what is happening currently is organizations are doing VAPT once a year, right? Based on security best practices, ISO, SOC 2, and other mandates. That too many organizations don't do it from an external third-party vendor. They may do it internally, right? But the extent of the testing is also a big challenge, right? And many small organizations are unable to do it in the way it should have been done. Many large organizations do have a process. They do it thoroughly, but they also have their own sets of challenges, which we'll discuss in some of the slides. So there are five aspects of this. One is attack surface validation, attack path validation, security controls validation, detection rule validation, and cloud security validation.
So I think the screen is stuck on introduction of breach and attack simulation.
Okay, so can I?
We can see now.
You can see now. Okay, so I'll have to put it in this mode because the screen is getting stuck. My apologies. So let me try again. Let me see. Can you see it now, Madhuja?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So 5 aspects we just discussed. Let's look at the next screen. So sorry. Yeah, we were discussing screen was not visible. So let me repeat. So 5 aspects of the BAS service: attack surface validation, attack path validation, security controls validation, detection rule validation, cloud security validation, right? So we'll see some of these, what they mean, right? And as we said, that BAS is a continuous security validation of all of these 5 aspects to measure and test the effectiveness of a security controls in an organization. So what does attack surface validation does? It looks at the surface, whether it's an internal threat or it's an external threat, right? So we have tools to look at your internal threat assessments. We also look at the external threat assessments, right, to enhance both the sides of the security. We all know that 60 to 70% of the attacks are instigated by insiders. So internal threats is one of the important factors that cannot be neglected in any entity. It's not just external, but the internal threats are equally important to be looked at. Now, in the attack path validation, okay, which we look at the employees, we look at your web APIs, we look at your firewalls, the WAFs, we look at the entire cloud environment, how the data is flowing from your internal side, your external side, right? And look at the high risk attack paths that attackers could exploit to compromise your users and your assets. That's attack path validation. That's one aspect of the 5 aspects that we just saw. The next aspect is security controls validation. Now we need to validate the controls, right, that we've seen in the attack path here, right? Some of these aspects. How do we do that? We look at your email gateways, we look at your web gateways, we look at your endpoint security, we look at your web application firewalls, we look at your other firewalls, we look at your data loss prevention, DLP technologies, and whether they're effective or not. So these are measured to optimize the effectiveness of each control within the entity. Right? So that's security control validation. Now the third aspect of this is detection rule validation. Now you all have detections as part of your CSOC, right? Your CSOC, we just discussed that your CSOC may have incidents defined and whether they are able to detect those incidents or not in your CSOC using your SIM technologies and your UEBA or your other technologies is part of your CSOC. Now, when we run a breach and attack simulation, we validate whether your CSOC could detect that attack vector or not, whether the attempted exploit or the attempted pen testing that we do or the exploits that we carry out, whether that was detected by your CSOC or not, and what is the efficiency of those detects, how many was detected, how many were missed, and what is the state of your CSOC. That's detection rule validation. Now, the next aspect is the cloud security validation. Now, we all know that majority of the environments are on cloud. Many of the IS environments as well as SaaS environments are on the cloud. So how do we validate those users and those environments, right? So we identify cloud misconfigurations and the overly permissive identity and access management policies. So all these policies where you have enabled your cloud environments are all validated, right? From the admin perspective as well as from the user's perspective. What the user should have, what your admin should have, right? And all those permissions are periodically updated, periodically validated rather. So that is cloud security validation as part of the environment. Now what exactly we do as part of these 5 aspects, right? So we identify exposure to the latest active threats in your environment. So we utilize threat intelligence, we utilize the AI tools to identify and access the organization's current exposure to the latest and the most active cyber threats. So we have a baseline of cyber threats, which is continuously updating as part of our BAS tools. And most of the attack vectors are updated to take care of the latest APT challenges. So continuous analysis of the threat landscapes that we do into our labs, and those are validated to the latest threat intels that are available, right, including some of the possible zero attacks. Now, this is what our labs do, and this is what our research and R&D team does that in their backend to make sure that we have the latest systems in place, we have the latest tools in place to do this attack and simulation testing into your environment. Now we validate, next is we validate security architecture against API attacks. We all know that majority of the data flows through APIs, right? Which is one of the neglected areas in terms of cyber security and in terms of ransomware attacks, where data is flowing through APIs. So what we do is we conduct simulated APT attacks, which is advanced persistent threats, to thoroughly validate and fortify the security architecture of the entity. So the proactive measures helps a robust defense mechanism against possible ransomware attacks and cyber threats. That's the validation of the security architecture in your environment. Next is to look at your WAF and your firewalls. So we continuously validate or periodically validate, as the case may be, right? To assess your WAF configurations so that the web-based attacks are minimized to the applications. Now we all know that traditionally many of the WAF firewalls, which were managed by entities themselves, in 70 to 80% cases, the WAFs were misconfigured, never updated, and majority of them were in learning mode. So the WAF continuously needs to be monitored in terms of the latest threats, in terms of the fine-tuning of what needs to be allowed, what needs to be allowed. And after every update to the application, the WAF needs to be revalidated, which does not happen in majority of the cases. Rather, that poses a serious challenge to the cybersecurity. And if the WAF is misconfigured or incorrectly configured, attackers can get into your environment through the WAF misconfiguration. That needs to be validated. And this data of 70 to 80% of WAF misconfiguration is available in public domain. So you can Google it out, check it out, what the effect of a WAF misconfiguration, right? What is the impact of that into your application and to your environment? The next aspect is the BAS service improves your CSOC efficiency and effectiveness. As we said, we do a detection rule validation. So based on the detection rule validation, we will baseline your environment into our BAS tool. What was there 6 months previous, what was there today, and what is going to be there. I mean, at least we can tell you where you need to be there in future, so that you can monitor the effectiveness of your CSOC over a period of time, right? Last 1 year, where were you? Today, where you are, and where you plan to go on a maturity level, which you can scale at your internal level, or we can scale it for you based on our tool offering. So we also give the level where you are against the established best practices, against the effectiveness of what your CSOC should be. And based on that, you could define a strategy to improve your CSOC, or to improve your decision making, or how to improve your effectiveness of the incidents that you may prevent or detect into your CSOC. So one of the important features of the BAS services is that we offer you an on-demand schedule or schedule assessments. So either we can give you on-demand, or we can give you schedule assessments based on the flexibility that you need from your entity, right? So if you need continuous assessments every 1 month, every 2 months, every 3 months, we can do that for you. Our tools are flexible, they are scalable. We can do a 10,000 or 20,000 endpoint BAS service in less than a week's time, right? And give you an entire picture of your entity's posture for large environments in less than a week's time. So that's the kind of scalability that we have, right? To test your effectiveness, we could do it anytime you want, at a point in time, continuous scale every month, every quarter, every 6 months, every year, or whatever is your management decision, and based on your budget, of course. So this helps have a proactive security approach, and it helps a better visibility of your environment, not just relying on your traditional VAPT and CSOC environments, which you feel are up to the mark. So that's what we need to validate where we are today. So we give you an actionable mitigation insights to quickly address your security gaps, some quick fixes, some medium fixes, some long-term fixes we will provide you based on the assessments. Like traditional VAPT gives you how to fix, we will give you those fixes, and you can fix your environments based on the recommendations that we provide you. So the tool is aligned with the Track framework. You're following the best practices from a globally established framework in terms of incident response, in terms of threat intelligence, to comprehensively evaluate and fortify your security measures against most of the common and diverse attack vectors. Most of the tests are non-disruptive. We can conduct non-disruptive tests. We can do the test in your off working hours, on weekends, on your non availability hours. Maybe when you have a scheduled downtime, maybe we can try and schedule in that time. We can do offline. Of course, most of this are remote tests, but we can do this as per your convenience, as per your availability, as per your client's convenience, so that there is no disruption to your production environments. Flexible environment support is that we can do it on premises, we can do it on the cloud, we can do it hybrid. Of course, we do it remotely as much as possible, but we can try and see what suits you to make sure that you can do it on your own, or we do it for you into your environment. As we said, most of the systems are supporting. We have tools that support most of the infrastructure, whether it's a Windows environment, whether it's a Linux environment, whether it's a Mac OS environment, the cloud environment. Most of the common tools and the platforms are supported. So this is a sample dashboard that our clients get to see their status after breach BAS service test, where they stand. Like in this case, we said we have 187 threats, and there were 644 attack objectives. There were 322 unarchived objects, and threat results, 98% was blocked in the threat results in an entity. 89 were not blocked, right, out of those 187, and the score of this thing is about 50%, right? And this is the CSOC, the effectiveness of CSOC. The next thing, slide, it shows about only 44% of the attacks, right, could be detected or prevented, right? They were not even logged. So there were 32 events which were not logged at all, right? Only 29 events were alerted. 87 of the events were not alerted at all by the CSOC. So this is the kind of real-time information that you have, right? That your CSOC, right, how effective it is, right? So 87 of the alerts were not even logged, or not even alerted, sorry. 32 were not even logged. Some were logged and not alerted, right? That itself shows how effective your posture is towards preventing a ransomware attack, or to actually detect or prevent any kind of data breach in your environment. So we all can think that, okay, why don't we buy the tools ourselves, and why don't we look at it to do it internally? Then why do we need a managed service provider or managed security service provider into our organization to do this, right? Of course, everybody can do that. Everybody can hire people and try to upskill them, try to give them training, try to buy the tools and do that. But it's easy said than difficult and then done. I spent about 20 years in the industry, and even some of the large Fortune 100 companies face these challenges of having effective CSOC and effectively managing your this environment of security operations, right? Many of those, as we said, there's a skill gap and there is no incident response capabilities available in the industry easily. People don't know how to strategize, how to effectively map the mid-tray framework attack to an incident response plan, right? We don't have continuous trainings in entities, right? We don't have in-depth knowledge in the cybersecurity space. Security technologies are constantly changing and we are unable to cope up with the technology challenges and the scalability in the market today. Compliance challenges and regulatory knowledge is lacking, and we see a lot of companies facing compliance related fines and penalties. Facebook $5 billion, right, and so on. So that's some of the challenges that we face, and that's the reason we think that MSSP like us is the best option for entities to use, do a breach attack simulation, and also to do a CSOC. We also do provide CSOC services, right? So both the aspects can be done in the one umbrella under one area, right? So it's a 24/7 monitoring and response that we need, and that what we can provide you, both breach and attack simulation as well as CSOC services, which is immediate incident response. Continuous threat monitoring, security, automation, and orchestration is part of our CSOC offering. Global threat intelligence integration is part of our CSOC offering, and that is what we urge entities to use MSSP like us to do this. Don't try and do it internally. If you don't have the resources, you may face a challenge, and outsource this activity to professionals like us. So of course, there's a more cost efficiency in outsourcing this activity to an entity like us, because we offer scalable services, we offer proactive maintenance for the tools, we offer risk management and insurance for our environment. You don't have any recruitment and overhead training costs. You may not have access to advanced technologies. Then of course it's an OPEX environment. You don't have to spend so much of capital expenditure into building a SOC, maintaining a SOC, training those guys, and of course facing those advanced persistent threats and all those challenges that we just discussed in the above slides. So scalability, that new technologies, the technologies have to be scalable, they need to be tailored, they need to be flexible, they need to be optimized to the latest environment. So why choose Accedere? Why choose Accedere is some of the points are highlighted here. We are the end-to-end cybersecurity firm. Although we are a CPA firm, we don't do anything other than cybersecurity. So all our audits and assessments are linked either to cybersecurity, privacy, and related areas. So it's a one-stop shop for your compliance audits such as ISO, IEC, SOC 2, and cloud security audits, technical audits, VAPT, managed CSOC, breach and attack simulation, and the likes. So you can get all your needs in one place, and we serve so many clients. We have a 99% repeat clients. That's what we mentioned above. And that's all I think I have for today before I close with the disclaimer. So whatever is said today as part of the disclaimer is general in nature, was not a specific use case that we discussed, may or may not be applicable directly to an environment. In case we need to discuss anything specifically for your environment, you need to send us an email at info@accedere.io. We can discuss any specific security strategies with you on a one-to-one basis. This webinar was not discussing any specific use case or specific environment on a specific entity. This was general in nature and may or may not apply to your environment. So we will open it for questions now, and Madhuja can take the polls also if there are anything. And I think we are just 5 minutes before time, so I'll give you some minutes back based on the number of questions that we have.
So we already have 2 questions in the Q&A box.
Okay, so let's look at those. So while we answer the questions, can we run the poll so that,
Yeah, we've already run the poll. I request everyone and urge everyone to just take the polls at the end of the webinar.
Okay, great. So the first question is how to implement effective BAS in SMEs. So good question. So BAS is a service that we provide um, to test your environment. As we said, SMEs or non-SMEs, the fact is that we need to have a proper incident management response and test of control in your environment. So I would suggest you leave it on professionals like us. We will validate your environment. We will do the batch testing in your environment. We will give you a roadmap. We will manage your CSOC. SMEs have challenges on having the right environment as well as the right resources in terms of people, process, and technology to manage an BAS or even a CSOC. So many banks, many medium sector companies also face these challenges, and it's best that professionals like us manage this for you. The second question is, are Mitre attack and BAS interrelated or different? Good question, excellent question. So the Mitre attack is a incident response framework, right? And it is a breach detection and prevention kind of framework as to what you need to do, how you need to do. It's a framework for preventing and detecting cyber attacks. The BAS is a testing methodology. We use the Mitre attack as part of the methodology to see that whether the incidents were detected and prevented based on the Mitre framework or not. So that is the interrelationship between BAS and the Mitre attack framework. BAS is a service. Mitre attack is a framework, right, against which we validate whether your CSOC was effective or not effective. I hope I have answered this question correctly and to your satisfaction. So if we have any other questions, it's fine. And if we are done with the polls, Madhuja, then we can, wait for a few minutes and then we can leave the call, give back some time to our visitors here.
Sure. So the polls are running.
So when we finish the polls, maybe we can, just thank everybody. And
so we're really happy to see every one of you here. We also hope that we see you in the next webinar. We'll keep you posted for that. And thank you for now. I'll give you back your time.
all right, thank you everybody for joining the call, and let's connect again next webinars. Thank you. I hope it was a wonderful session. Thank you. Goodbye.